Hi everyone and welcome to Culture of Paint. In this episode, I'm going to be chatting with Matt all about his recent entry into Monte San Savino, which is a pretty old, pretty well-established miniatures painting event over in Italy. And Matt did this awesome droid from Star Wars, and he's going to talk us through the whole process in the video. Now, Culture of Paint's aimed at a mature audience, so we might use explicit language and discuss adult themes. Now, let's talk about paint. Right, we're back in, guys. So let's kick it off. Mince pie chat to begin with. Costco mince pies are so good. Fair. You're not a mince pie fan, Matt. This is correct.
They're just rank.
No, well, I mean,
Just
let's steady
utterly
on.
disgusting.
Don't go getting us cancelled already. So it's
I'll accept the cancellation over that. That is an accurate opinion.
There's few things I love more than Warhammer, and mince pies are one of them.
No.
So yeah, I've held out until December. It's good times. I've got the insulin ready, and I'm just going to tuck in. And yeah, Lidl Deluxe is my preferred brand. So let me know in the chat. And if you're watching this back on Culture of Paint YouTube channel, wondering why we talk about pies, not miniatures, let me know about your favourite brand of mince pie, because I'm always open to trying the new ones. Homemade stuff. I mean, if you can ship me some of your wife's homemade mince pies, then we can do a compare and contrast. Which, let's be honest, is probably the show people really need, rather than, listening to me waffle on about nonsense. Good with tech, good with robots, rubbish it eats. That's pretty good.
No, that's not accurate at all.
That's pretty fair. So yeah, on that note, I should say, guys, if you're watching us back on the YouTube channel and you see us talking to other people, that's because we always stream the episodes live over on our Twitch channel. It's subs only, so if you want to jump in and see all the unedited stuff, the chat before and the chat after and all the rest of it, consider jumping on there and supporting us. If you're watching this on Twitch, remember, if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you get one free Twitch sub a month. You just need to activate it manually each time, otherwise it drops off and it doesn't renew. So we missed last week because unsurprisingly we've had a couple of things on, but I've got Matt on today, just dedicated episode. I want to talk all about this amazing robot that he's done droid that he's done recently. And then later this week, Andy and I are going to be recording a Patreon only and Twitch sub only episode where we're going to be doing a big Q&A, and we're going to be doing a wish list from you guys for what you'd like to see us produce content wise for 2026. So jump in on that one as well. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by Christmas pudding, mince pies. Oh, it's going to be great. Right, Matt. Droids, Star Wars, all the rest of it. Can you fill for me while I remember to refresh the slides thing, please?
Fill what? Like just
I don't know. Tell me about why on earth did you decide, right, this is what I'm going to paint? Because I think it's fair to say you are an intermittent hobbyist, right? You can often go for months and months between projects, and you generally only paint to display, to do a competition.
Yeah, no gaming stuff.
Yeah,
too much meta
or even just fun. Just,
I mean, it has to be. If I'm going to paint it for fun, it's still going to be full display. Sort of. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I won't have anything to take to shows.
Absolutely.
With how little I actually produce.
Fair enough. So what was it? Yeah, what was it that made you think, right, K2SO?
K2SO, yeah.
Yeah.
It was the Andor series.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching that. Obviously, he was in the Rogue One, but he wasn't super, wasn't on the screen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Andor, he has much of a bigger role in the second season, and it was just so funny. Some of the comments and the dialogue and all that stuff. And I'd love to do that because it's just cool. And yeah, I just had to literally search around and find the perfect STL.
Well, so this is what I was going to ask. So you see that and you think, right, that's what I want. Was your first port of call Googling to see if there were kits available, or were you you knew straight away you were going to be doing printing for this? Because obviously you've recently, got into your printing.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to find a pre-made kit before I found this Droid Division place, and they're not big. They're just very little, and mostly the 28mm scale stuff from what's that Star Wars game?
Shatterpoint. No, Shatterpoint's a little bit bigger, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Legions is the little one, isn't it? Yeah.
And I was like, that's a bit boring. I don't want to do something that small. And then I found, actually, it was through Facebook. I found the print group first, and then I found the guy that did it, the Droid Division owner, and then just went on his Etsy and purchased the STLs. I was like, cool, I can make that work, and picked it up.
Well, that's awesome. So Droid Division, that thing we just popped on the previous slide, that is the
yeah, that's the guy that does it all. They have a load of Facebook groups, and they're like a print group where they all print off their stuff, and like tell you how to do stuff, and if you're doing something wrong and stupid with the STL. Luckily, I didn't do too many things wrong with the STL.
It's so useful, man, isn't it? Like I picked up a load of STLs off for a Warhammer Fantasy Empire thing a few months back, and you, rather than going through Cults 3D or Minifacture or whatever, the guy sells them direct. So you purchase it, and then you essentially have a folder on the website which has got all your purchases on, which is super cool. But then what you also get access to is the Discord, and it's just invaluable, isn't it?
Yeah,
like you know, that experience, and especially if the creator can be in there as well.
Yeah, I mean the guy that makes them all is very active on the print group, because I posted the finish thing on the print group, and he was chatting away on it as well. And I did have to go through the print group a bit to figure out some of the ways you had to print, because with this STL they do the left side, or they do the right side, and then you have to flip it in the print to do the left side.
Right.
And I was printing, and I was just like, something's not right. I probably should have read the instructions first instead of just jumping right into it.
Well, so that's good one. So it was by no means then a simple print.
No, it was. I did 8 prints because 1 failed, and they were literally about 7.5 hours each.
Wow. And you got into printing what, around about Easter time this year, didn't you? Just before MPO Bristol, you printed the Goblin and stuff for testers, didn't you? Before
I got the. I think it was last year. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd say you're into it, and you are a very fastidious person. You know, you've done your research, you've done your your due diligence and everything. So would you consider that a success? You've done 7 prints here to get what you want.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it was mostly down to the size. I couldn't. So my print is a Frozen 8KS. It doesn't have the massive print bed, and I basically made the droid as big as I possibly could for my print size.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Because I just wanted a huge robot and not paint something tiny. But so having sort of that size meant just lots of parts had to be done in lots of prints.
Nice. And I mean, was enemy, without getting too nitty gritty, because we are going to do a few episodes on printing. People seem to be quite keen on that. Decisions around the resin and all the rest of it. You'd already got that dialed in. This was very much
I mean, so the manufacturer give you specific settings to use, and I just plug those in and press print and hope for the best. I did have to support it all myself, so the STL is not pre-supported because it's supposed to be printed off as the full size prop, which is 7+ foot whatever.
Oh really?
And I think it's like you need a 500 by 500.
I didn't realize it was that big. So you've printed it off as a prop piece.
It's a prop STL that I've shrunk down to 15%.
Not biggerized.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is why
I didn't realize this. So let's dig into this one. So the reason I'm quite excited to hear that is that there was an article years ago when Games Workshop started doing the epic scale stuff.
Yeah.
And they started talking about how biggerizing a small sculpt was pretty much just do it. But shrinking a bigger sculpt was trickier because you had certain things like piping they mentioned
Yeah,
became really, really tricky. So did you
I
run into things
I
like that?
had this exact issue. So
Ah.
I don't know if it's I gave you so here specifically. So the antennas basically became less than a millimeter wide, so they wouldn't work in resin. If you just breathed on them, they snapped.
Hmm.
So I had to ask my dad to use the lathe and lathe out these brass replicas
Oh, awesome.
because they were just too thin to exist at this scale. And the same issue with the grills in the eye.
Yeah.
So the actual grill slices became so thin that I think I gave you a photo. I'm not sure. They
Yeah, yeah.
basically
I've
went
got the
wobbly.
eyes later. Let's have a look. Where are we? There. Yeah.
Yeah. So those grills, I had to print out so many of them and just hope that one
Mm.
would work and I would get two. I tried to make them a little bit thicker in Blender, but it didn't work super well. So yeah, scaling down to 15% meant that a lot of the wall thicknesses became a bit unstable.
Mm. That's really interesting. And I suppose it's, you see, I'm just starting to delve more into other manufacturers and other kits more this last sort of 6 months, and particularly the scale modeling side of things. And I suppose this is why we see in that so many of the accoutrement bits that you can get are either brass etch or,
Yeah.
as you say, sort of micro lathe metal and all the rest of it, just because plastic or resin is not working, is it?
No.
With
Although
that sort of.
I did speak to someone at Monty, and there's a guy called Pedro, and he does a lot of 3D printing stuff as well. And what you can do is, instead of letting it cure with like when when you're in the cure stage with UV, if you just leave it, sometimes the resin will kind of contract and it will just tighten back up.
Mhm.
So I did that on another thing, and I'll do that on the next project and see if it'll work.
That's quite interesting. I mean, that is super cool, but I also really love the fact that you got your dad to like laid out some bra, because
Yeah. Well,
it's stories like
yeah,
that, right? You know, that make it a bit more
yeah. I mean,
personal.
the antennas and the little face antenna things he has just would never
Mm.
work in resin at that scale. It's just too fragile.
No, not at all. Well, that's super cool. I didn't realize, and I didn't necessarily. No, we'll discuss that one. Someone's brought it up in the chat about where it was at Monty. We'll talk about the Monty experience a bit later on in the in the chat, guys. Big up to the lathe drivers, yeah, very much so. But it's not just the kit you played around with. You also had a little muck about in Blender, right?
Yeah,
And made your own
yeah.
plinth.
I wanted a really cool subtle plinth. So I had to deep dive into some Blender tutorials on some very primitive use of Blender. Because I bolt when I'm traveling with my models, I bolt them into the case because I've had too many times where like the TSA, especially in America, have literally just thrown my case on the scanners or like flattened it down like with vigor. And just magnets and blue tack would just not work. So I bolt everything in now. So I put the magnet holes in, the bolt hole in pre-printing, so I could just pop them in when it was done.
Yeah, nice. So totally bespoke. So
yeah.
the brass rod you've got for mounting on here, have you just run that? Have you just threaded up underneath it? Have you?
No, so I just put a 4mm hole in the SDL because you can't really drill into this resin very well.
Okay.
It's
Brittle.
It's very brittle, so it tends to just snap rather than cut nicely. And when you're using a larger drill bit, it's going to catch and just jerk it sort of its way apart. So I just put all the holes in ahead of time, and yeah, that's just a 4mm brass rod. So I just did a 4mm hole in the SDL.
Nice. It's so clever. I mean, it's even just the last few years being able to do this is it's pretty mad, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's very exciting. I think it's particularly exciting for the competition pieces. You know, I feel like the last couple of years we've really seen the collab thing coming to the fore, right? More and more people are becoming incredibly competent and in many cases very, very talented with digital sculpting. And you've sort of got the people that are perhaps not that creative but are very good at replicating something. So you've got those guys producing things. So if you can be very specific to them, be like, right, I'd like this done, then you can get something sculpted, and then you can work on it. And then you're also getting the top end guys and girls sculpting who are creating these beautiful, things that we've not seen before, partnering up with a top end painter and seeing those on the thing. And I do imagine what we're going to start to see as it evolves is that, you got Raph, haven't you, who we will definitely have on Beaumont Minis. I can't really think of anyone other than maybe Tom Hughes over at
Tebow?
But Tebow's only just really kicking on, isn't he, with the sculpting, right?
He's skyrocketed in his like ability to do it. Is crazy, like how quickly he's got to really cool sculpts.
But do you think that's? I mean, this is what I wasn't intending to talk with you about it, but you've probably got more experience than most people I've spoke to with it. Like so this is me speaking as someone who's been sniffing around and aware of 3D sculpting and 3D printing now since about 2017. So interested from a distance, have dabbled but never really run with it. Are you getting to the point now where you're thinking, yeah, do you know what? I want to sit down and learn a bit more.
Yep.
To do, yeah. That's exciting.
I have a huge Pinterest gallery of mecha at the moment that I've been collecting since Monty now, and I want to do like another droid, but as a more of a, what I had in mind was more helmet orientated, a lot more details, more pipes, like a Terminator sort of skeleton with like the whatever you call it, the clavicle or whatever. I'll probably try to do that in Blender, but we'll see how I get on, basically.
It's exciting. It's very, very exciting. So I mentioned already you're quite a fastidious person. I imagine this project was fairly well planned. I'm assuming you've had it broken down, sort of how you're going to do it, right, and the points you need to hit by certain dates and all the rest of it.
No, I literally just winged every part of it and just made it up as I went along.
So that's, in my experience, that is not often people's approach to a display piece. But I suppose if you're not painting outside of doing these pieces, then this is where you're learning, right?
Yeah, this was like so the weathering and all that stuff. I know how to do it, and I know what I want to do because I've done it on other projects. So that wasn't too much of the issue. It was more of the building and I can just change this because I have a printer now. I can just literally print it off and try it again. And I didn't like that result, so I can just print another piece off.
Oh wow!
Which I did a couple of times on a few parts, but no, the rest of it just winged it.
So when you talk about just wing it, because I mean, you say the rest of it. Take us through. You've said to yourself, I'm going to do this droid. You've scaled down this movie prop replica. How are you then planning out things such as sub-assemblies? You I suppose in this case, because it is effectively a scale model, right? You have a reference picture because you have the movie. You have stills, I imagine you've taken that you're working on. Are you working back from that? Are you trying to directly replicate things, or are you choosing to, this is inspired by that piece?
It was, the intention was originally to try and stick to the correct Lucas film imagery, but I found that trying to do it for like a display painting competition, it was just very visually boring. There wasn't a huge amount of like interest for me, at least. So because you suggested I use the petroleum grey, which I did in the end, and I think K2SO is more of like a bluey grey, like dark bluey, whatever. And once I sort of started painting, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go with whatever the hell I decide. And I did away with the imagery in the end.
Oh, nice. So this is nice. So this properly is your interpretation of K2. I really like that. I get the challenge. I get the idea of that, trying to replicate, with the scale model thing, and people take photographs, don't they? And they work backwards from a historical photo. And I guess I can see some of the fun in that, but I think it removes too much of the creative process for me, that style. And I guess, though, you could look at a piece like this, which is ostensibly just a black robot with
pretty
smooth
much.
armor panels and not an awful lot else. But just the amount of different colors and techniques and variations of things like the weathering you've put on is insane across it. The fact that you're a superb photographer is, I think, very fortunate in this, because if it was me taking pictures of this, it would look boring as fuck. It really would. But you're able to get, like the shot we're looking at now of the shoulder. There's so much nuance in there.
Yeah. I should have sent you the photo of me taking the photos. I had a light stacked on top of a Chaos Black spray paint. Yeah. I clipped another light to my water bottle, just to, and then I had this cheap grey paper card background, and then I just was angling my painting light, because I got rid of all my studio lights ages ago.
But it's come out great. It's come out absolutely. I know the photo you're on about. Actually, you chucked it up in the chat. It did make me chuckle. The light sat on top of a can. Type thing. So, well, let's dig into the weathering then. We've spoken about the black a little bit, but I think the weathering is probably interests me a little bit more, in the sense of you're saying this whole thing was a bit of a voyage of discovery with it. How have you gone about approaching it then? Have you gone, right, I want it to look like this, how do I make it look like this? Or have you gone, right, what products are out there, how do I use them?
A bit of both. So I didn't really have an end goal in mind. I just kind of weathered it as I went. I went, cool, that's probably enough there. I don't want to do too much, otherwise it's going to look ridiculous. And then obviously just, I know the products that I'm going to use and the steps in which I need to use them to make it work well. This was all done with chipping fluid. So I basically just had to do those steps well enough so that it didn't look terrible.
So that's how, for instance, the bottom edge of his shoulder there, where you've got that lovely, actual physical peeling of the paint, that's chipping fluid. Chipping fluid, but not maybe exactly in the way that they say to use it. So they always say to use like a damp brush and stuff like that, but I just use a knife, and I just literally attack it with a knife and just peel the paint off and push. Sometimes I'll push the knife literally under the paint and just lift it up a little bit, so you get that kind of depth. I think I've got a list of videos I want to make and stuff, and chipping and weathering was obviously are always fairly high up them. But what this has shown, just following you with this project, is that Andy has often spoken about how when he paints the larger scale stuff, it gives him the space to do different things and try different things. And actually, you're unable to do those sometimes on a 28mm, 32mm gaming piece.
Yeah.
And I'd never really considered that when it comes to, or I had considered it, but I hadn't seen such an obvious example of that than I had with your droid for things like weathering, because the scale of it, that, just as you're saying, actually creating that physical texture, lifting the paint, creating those peels, would be incredibly difficult to represent on a 28mm
impossible.
model.
It's just far too small.
Well, and it would look like you'd done what you'd done, right? Rather than, as I've had, but really enjoying looking at the photos of this, over the last few weeks, is I've not been entirely sure what you've done to get certain effects. And that's wicked, because normally I'm pretty confident at breaking things down and techniques, but that was one I wanted to ask you about, was the peeling, because there are a variety of ways. Did you have a play around with fluids and stuff, or was it just grab AK or MiG or someone and just
had the bottle of AK chipping fluid, whacked it on, and then the petroleum grey over the top.
Yeah, nice. Did you ever try hairspray?
I've tried it before, but it's too much of a faff and mess for me. I'm probably already breathing in enough acrylic fumes from not wearing masks when I airbrush.
Yeah, let's not worry about all that. That we'll leave the, what's it called, FSOH or whatever
for the future NHS to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Breaking it down, then, did you approach? Was it a case of doing the skeleton first, then doing the armor panels first, then doing the weathering stuff, or did you work on it piece by piece. I know this is something that a lot of painters, differs between various painters. They like to take an area to completion before moving on. What were you finding with this?
I've tried that before. I've found that doing it in more sub-assemblies is probably a mistake because you end up hyper focusing on small areas, and then as a whole it just looks ridiculous. So this was completely built and weathered at the same time. I didn't sub-assemble. The only bits of sub-assemblies were the armbands because they had to be sprayed a different color. And then I just weathered everything one step at a time. So I did all the chipping, and then I did all the scratching, and then I did all of the other streaks and grimes and that, like as a whole step rather than individually, or I'll do a bit here and then I'll do a bit there. I've just found that if I do it in isolation, I just end up making it look way too busy.
Yes.
Just go too far.
Yeah. And if you go too far on the one piece, you now have to go that far on all the others.
Yeah.
With regards to scale and stuff, so I know you've done that Iron Man bust a little while ago, which was a smaller scale than this, and then you did the helmet. I'm going to say a stormtrooper helmet. I don't think it was a stormtrooper helmet.
One.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
So you did that one. I'm just having a look on your account now. Actually, you've done more large scale than I thought you'd done, because you did Anna as well, didn't you? Sort of your white era. Of, doing all that.
Tamiya flat white.
No, well, just because although mini color white is now getting ready to take over. But you've had a lot of success in the past with your 28mm stuff. You obviously won your Golden Demon with 28mm, and you've painted plenty of 28mm. How would you say you're enjoying the two? Is it a case of you're enjoying flitting between the two? Because you did a tiny tank as well, right? You did an epic tank as well. Like, is that as much of a thrill for you playing around with that, or like many people I've sort of spoken to, is once they've started painting the larger scale stuff, they often find that's where they end up spending their time because of that bigger canvas?
It's not so much the scale, it's more of the place I'm going to take it to. So this can go SMC, it can go Monty, it can go Salute, MPO, all those places where if I'm painting 28mm, it's going to be Warhammer, and they kind of only work at Demon.
Interesting.
So I was enjoying this more because I knew I could take it to more places, and I would not super enjoying the Warhammer stuff at the moment, just because I know what I'm painting it for, and I'm just not enjoying painting that way. If that makes sense.
It makes absolute sense. I think it's fascinating. I also think you're not the first person that said that to me, and particularly what you were saying about if your hobby is shows and display, then painting the right thing for the right competitions is something that seems to be coming up more and more. If you don't mind, let's jump ahead a tiny bit then to Monty. So Monte San Savino. So you painted this to take out to Monte San Savino miniature show over in Italy. Now you've been over there a few times, right?
I think this was the 4th or 5th time.
Great. So it's a show you love. There's a big crowd now that go, a big group of you guys that go over, and all the rest of it. How was the experience this year?
I from like a socialization aspect, it was probably my favorite year. We had the whole Swedish crew over at the villa one morning for breakfast. We were playing football, like throwing Skittles and stuff off the balcony for like Rich and that to try and catch in their mouth. It was just so much fun. That's kind of what Monty is for me, with a miniature show attached.
Mate, it's perfect. For years, I'd listen on the podcast to people go away on these gaming weekends or these world championships and this, that, and the other. And very often, the thing that was exciting and infectious and this, when you listen to them, was basically that the fun time they got to have, sort of with like-minded people. And as you say, the show or the game is almost ancillary to it. But Monty is it's a very well-established show, right? It's been around for, a long time, and the crowd. I don't. You're better on numbers than I am, and the crowd that have gone to Monty traditionally, historically, for want of a better term, they're an older crowd, right? Because they've been into it.
Yeah.
Have you seen, like, since we've been covering it on Culture Paint for what, 5 years now, ever, like, as an observer and now as someone who runs painting competitions, I'm definitely seeing a change
Yeah,
in
I mean,
in the sort of
there is definitely, even just in the last 4 years I've been going, there is a noticeable change in the sort of age demographic, and almost in the sort of nationality demographic. Like this year, there was so many Scandinavians.
Mhm.
There was must have been like 40 or something, which is brilliant, because I don't think in that I was talking to, I think I was talking to Niels, and obviously competitive painting isn't a huge part of Norwegian culture, or whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it, and
Mhm.
they're now getting a lot of high level painters coming out of Norway and winning a lot.
Oh, was it this year we had the first Norwegian demon winner? Was
Yeah,
it? Yeah,
Niels.
Nils. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just so the demographic is definitely changing at Monty, which is nice. There was a lot more people my sort of generation there
Mhm.
now, doing insane work, basically.
Well, the reason, and I don't particularly want to get into the sort of the age side of it. That wasn't the intention with it. My reasoning behind that, the sort of leading question element, was you mentioned a few minutes ago that if you're painting a gaming piece, be that a GW. I mean, it's nearly always a GW piece,
Yeah.
isn't it? But occasionally it might be. Other manufacturers are producing some nice stuff, and indeed 3D sculptors now. You can get some awesome pieces. Do you think there will be a greater proportion now of that coming through at competitions outside of Games
Yeah,
Workshop, outside of Golden Demon or Golden Demon sort of or knockoffs isn't the word I'm looking for, but you know what I mean.
yeah. No, definitely. There is a huge more amount. There is a lot more Warhammer pieces entered into not demon competitions now.
Mm.
You sort of see it every, like, scale model challenge. When I was there the other year, there was so much more Warhammer than
Mm.
I've seen before, and even at this Monty, there was a lot more Warhammer than I've seen in the last sort of 4 that I went to,
Mm.
which is interesting. I do wonder why. I think it's just people like to paint that stuff, and now they're exploring different competitions.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we had the chat with the SMC organisers a few years ago, or in fact, it wasn't. It was the World Model Expo. No, it was the SMC guys.
Yeah, it
The
was
year
Robert.
that they hosted
Yeah,
World Model Expo, and I think we had that chat with them. So if you want to go back and look through the Culture Paint playlists, I think all of season 2's up now. So whether it's in 2 or 3, I can't remember. But they're sort of we essentially had that discussion there of why it's happening. And I think in a nutshell, the vast majority of people nowadays coming into the miniatures painting hobby are coming via Warhammer for whatever length of time.
yeah,
That's their way in, versus historical pieces or scale or scale modeling. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting, I think, to see how that all develops with it. Actually, while we're on Monty, let's answer the question that someone asked earlier, category wise, because you mentioned this to me the other day. Briefly, how do categories work at Monty?
there's a few categories. There's fantasy painting, there's historical, and then there's like the sort of the mecha stuff, and like ordnance, and then obviously the different levels within those categories. I put this into painting, and I was reading the rules, and it didn't feel like it fit into the sci-fi ordinance well enough. But then it probably would have done better there, just for the style that I painted it in, over the fantasy painting, which is
Mm.
more fantasy painting. This is more like scale modeling.
Yeah,
So it was
absolutely.
kind of like a 50-50.
Interesting.
But,
Interesting.
yeah, I probably should have put it in the other category, but no.
It's good to know, though, right?
Yeah.
I think if most people that are watching Culture Paint, I think are fairly interested, right, in competitions and this, that, and the other, and because we haven't covered them for the last sort of 18 months as much as we did previously, there may be new people coming in, and I'd like us to start talking a bit more about going to comps for the first time, how to not play the game, but how to not disadvantage yourself through ignorance. I think it would be good to provide some help with, or some guidance with that.
One thing that I really like what we're doing with MPO, because whereas in other competitions you enter it into specific categories based on kind of what you're painting, we have it, you enter it into the sort of general categories, but you're judged still on what you're painting as the technique rather than the category you're entering, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So like, this didn't work very well in fantasy painting because it's more scale model. Maybe I should have put it into the ordnance because they would have seen more of the scale modeling techniques. But like with MPO, I could put this into bust.
Yeah.
It's just because it's a bust.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that it's a scale model painting rather than, a fantasy painting.
Absolutely. And I mean, I suppose a lot of that comes down to judging as well, doesn't it? It's having the right judges in the right places. But yes, I mean, Matt and I are looking at covering a lot more of the events from here on out and getting around the place. So hopefully we can get in our groove with all of that. But I'd love to just sort of help facilitate that. Like, I think speaking to people at classes, or just speaking to people at events, there's still that hesitation, I think, to go to some of these contests that aren't Golden Demon or a derivative thereof, and it's such a shame when you see how much joy people get out of these other events, and they do need that. They do need the new blood coming in.
Yeah.
And when you haven't got an advertising showcase like you have with Warhammer, it's how do you get eyes on these events? How do you keep the footfall and the interest and the excitement? I mean,
some of the difficulties with these events is also the barrier for entry in travel and accommodation can be quite difficult. Monty, for example, is that the town has like a population of like 400 something normally, and then there's like 2,000 hobbyists turn up. So accommodation does become an issue because there's not enough of it. Whereas Warhammer, they're in big convention centers. There's a billion hotels right nearby it.
Absolutely. But it's also worth saying as well that with these is that Monty's a very well established, very well attended one. If you keep your eye about, and for instance, keep an eye on the old miniature compendium network that you've created now, you're going to be flagging up a lot more of the shows that are different sizes. So yeah, keep an eye on those, because there are some crackers out there. There really are, that don't get so much limelight. It's just because there's lots of shouting about it doesn't always guarantee a good show, and vice versa, I think. So we'll try our best to talk about
there's
that.
Definitely levels of quality between all of them. Depends on what you're sort of looking for in a show.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's something out there for everyone. So yeah, do dive in, and if you're unsure about any of it, check out the playlist, because we'll have talked about many of them. So hopefully there's some interesting ones. People in the chat that have been this year saying they're loving Monty. It's fairly unique, isn't it? Sort of as a thing.
It is a very, very unique show. You almost can't compare it to other shows.
No, fair. Well, let's go back to K2SO. I was going to ask you, so what new things did you learn on this project? But it kind of sounds like everything.
well, yeah, like the weathering, mostly I sort of knew where I was going with it, which it's kind of what I was gonna say. Like, I always find projects very difficult when I don't know what I'm doing. So I always tend to fall back on techniques I know how to do, so I end up not doing anything new, if that makes sense, which
Absolutely.
is a bit annoying because I'm not learning. So I kind of knew where I was going with this, but one thing that I did find particularly fun and experimented with was I actually did some finger painting.
Lovely.
So a lot of the metallics, I painted them, but they weren't like popping enough.
Yeah.
So I got some, was it dark steel pigment? Just pop my fingers in and just rub my fingers on all the on the metal, and then they just started popping up.
Yeah.
So like, cool, that'll do.
It's wicked, isn't it? I don't know if you've done it with pencil lead as well, like just grind pencil lead down, graphite down. Oh, that's super cool. Do you, given what you said, then, are you coupling with the fact that you're getting more proficient with the printer? Are you not tempted to start doing some essentially study pieces? So you print off 4 of the helmets of this guy, and you go, right, next month or 2, I'm going to learn a new technique, so that when it comes to doing the full piece for a display, you're not going in, as you say, either a little bit blind or stuck in a rut where you're just going to repeat the same old. Because it's something not to the same degree, but I say this because it's something I found I've come up against over the last few years. My personal progression as a painter, I think, has stalled the last few years because I was trying to pump out a video every single week aimed at a certain level, because I wanted it to be as approachable as possible. But it meant that there was repetition happening there and muscle memory that maybe I didn't want to perpetuate.
I would love to be able to do something like that. I think time wise, I'm not sure I'd be able to. I kind of have to just get on and do it first time. And if I go in blind, that's just kind of how it is for my own personal hobby. I would love to be able to do that. I mean, I have a project that I've been sort of stalling for like the last year just because I don't know how to start it. And I think I would need to actually do a test piece on that to try and figure it out, which I might do over my Christmas break, and spend a day or 2 just trying to work out how to actually attempt that project.
That's exciting. And what's your go-to for doing the new stuff? Books, videos, people?
Ironically, it's Cult of Paint. I will just watch the videos.
Patreon for that, yeah. Oh, thanks, man. There you go. That's all right. Well, now, of course, you are now a YouTube painting tutorial creator. How did you find that experience? So there'll be a link in the bottom of this video, guys, for Matt's video, which he's done on Koto, which is superb. As I mentioned earlier, Matt is a very, very good photographer. Knows his stuff with all that. But how did you find that experience, documenting it and then editing and all of that?
The sort of the end, the editing and all that stuff is easy. The thing that I found the most frustrating was keeping my fat head out of the camera. Like, so much footage was just like me just like leaning into it. I'm just like, for God's sake.
Yeah, old fringe cam, right?
Yeah, that was a struggle, and I said that in the video. It's like, this is, I don't know how people do this. So difficult to paint well and then paint on camera, because half the time when I'm painting like this, like right up in my face.
Yeah.
And,
well, so go on. Sorry.
Yeah, and to be able to do it like that when you're like, camera can cool. Does that word the frame? I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
So I mean, I've never grab a model. I think a lot will do, but Andy and I talk about this a lot, obviously, and we talk to other people that do it, and I've not met one person do it the same as another. So I know with Andy, he typically Andy will paint like this.
Yeah.
Like, so leant back in his chair with his model in his hand like that, lamp over him here, and he's painting like this. So how he gets around it is he will paint a tiny bit on cam, like leant right over, right up close to it, click film, paint that bit, stop off film, and then finish painting it or redo it.
Yeah.
And I've gone the other way with it. So typically I would sit up and I sort of have my elbows on the desk and I'd paint in front of me like that.
Mm-hmm.
But to stop my head getting in and get under the camera, I've now spent 4 years painting almost extended arm length.
Yeah.
So God knows what that's done to my eyesight. But there's sometimes like you'll be painting away and filming it, and just as you say, hoping that it's in shot, hoping that it's in focus, and this. But secondly, painting detail at that distance is maddening. But it's so tricky because you can't get up close to that eye because the hair just fronds into the camera, doesn't it?
Well, I end up painting like this. I put my elbows on the desk, and I'm just like that.
Yeah,
sort of straight back.
Yeah,
like that. And I was just like, I had the camera top down, and I was just like, I can't see the camera. How do I know if I'm in frame? So I ended up getting one of those little field cameras, and I put it right in front of me, and then I'm just like,
It's not, I mean, I wasn't planning on this to be a what you call it, like getting into film, but it's fascinating because I don't think there is a right answer, because the issue I found with the elbows on the desk for filming is that I was moving in and out of shot a lot. So both Andy and I, like the way we do it now is we pin our forearms on the desk, and we know that. So my way of knowing is I know that when my watch is pushed up against the edge of the desk, I know that that's the perfect place. But then I've started painting tanks and things more often. That doesn't work at all because the camera's got to be out and this, that, and the other. But it's so fun trying to do it. It's frustrating.
I was very surprised to sort of see how much I move around. I'm just like all around the place. I'm like, for God's sake, just stay still.
Are you locking it in? Are you locking your focus in and going?
I was trying autofocus, but then I found that I'm moving too much and it kept tripping the autofocus.
Yeah, so I picked up a new camera recently. Not what I was using. It's the one Andy's been using for about 6 months now, and it's got a very good autofocus on it. So I'm quite excited about the potential in that.
I found the way for me was keep it on manual focus, but just have a really high f-stop so that I have a lot of movement room where it's still in focus, and then me jittering about the place doesn't matter too much.
Absolutely. It's just it's a never-ending sort of ongoing battle, really, to go, because you want to show it the best you can show it, but I found that often showing the stuff on camera the best isn't necessarily how to describe it.
It's not a comfortable paint position.
I thought it would be, if I could just find a way to film me painting, that would be the best thing. But it's not. Like I think there is a very deliberate like paint for filming style, and it's all just sort of finding it out.
The camera there, and then you got to get it over your shoulder.
Oh, were you over the shoulder?
Yeah.
Okay,
cool. The top down, because I always face it towards me. I was just like, cool, you can see the top of my fingers.
Yeah.
And then if I tried to do that, I found myself leaning over it too much, and I'm like, oh, there's my head in the camera.
Yeah, excellent. Well, if you want to see all these trials and tribulations that Matt's gone through and still produced an outstanding video, as I say, the link will be in the description to take a look. So let's wrap this natter up. It's lovely just to have you on, by the way, just to talk about your hobby and stuff. Obviously, Matt's been on from the very beginning, but often. It's not often we get to spotlight you, and I think you're a brilliant hobbyist. So it's been really nice to have a natter about it. So, what is next for you that you can talk about?
I want to do another helmet, Luke Skywalker's X-wing helmet this time, but I want to print the visor in clear resin and figure out how to do that aspect of it.
So you had some fun with the eye lenses with that, right? A little bit for this. There was some clear resin stuff, wasn't there? You used, Interesting. That's very exciting. That's proper scale model.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to make it clear, because it will come out of the printer a bit frosted, and I'll need to sand any layer lines down that happen. So I'm thinking I'll probably need to sand it down, and then I'm going to try gloss varnish a layer of resin after like wet sanding, and get
yeah,
it really smooth.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
see which one works the best to make it most clear. And then I think it's
I
orange in
would-
the film, so I'll spray it with like a Tamiya clear or something.
I wonder if it's worth having a look at automotive repair. So I was, one of my reels, I got rabbit hole sucked down the other day was car detailing,
Mm.
and then I ended up with fixing chips on the car. And
Yeah.
he was using incredibly fine grit towards the end, but it was on this lovely sort of deep flake paint job. But the products he was using towards the end to like buff and wax it out, it went from being almost completely opaque to being this beautiful.
It's like a polishing compound.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's something there to.
No, I've looked into that. So there's a plastic polishing compound that I've used before on like when we did like little RC car racing stuff, like to like fix the body shell, and that's like an abrasive, but it's like super fine abrasive, so you can like polish up plastics really nicely, like super shiny. So I'm going to use that as well. See which one works the best.
Yeah, Todd gave me a load of various polishing things for Gundam kits, and there's some crazy like polishes they use, like almost glass. It's I'm really looking forward to seeing that one. And what about old?
I know I need to paint it. I just painting the skin. I've printed off a couple more copies because I'm just struggling with the skin, getting it not looking just like super crap. So over Christmas, I'll probably take that Christmas time off because I have a lot of time over December off to just try and practice some bits. Hopefully get the GD project for Spiel sorted.
Oh, exciting! I haven't spoke to you about that.
It's the Gargants that have.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that have been sat on my desk for a year and a half.
Oh well, let's cover that. I am pondering whether to do something for Spiel. It will be 10 years since my last demon.
Big tank.
So, well, I've had an idea that hasn't left my head for a couple of years, so that usually is a good thing, right? So we'll see, but maybe we can talk about. It's not about me. This one.
So I want to do the Gargants for Spiel, and then maybe the Grot for Monty.
Nice.
Try and maybe sort that out.
You mentioned MPO, so obviously Matt very much involved in MPO, creating it with myself and Andy, and we've just closed submissions for MPO online, which closed a couple of days ago, and we've now just started to get stuck into the judging. Give us a couple of weeks for that because there's about 3,000 entries. So but we will talk about it more. And we'll talk about the judges and judging team and all the rest of it. But that's exciting. And then we've got a site visit booked for MPO Bristol to check a few things, check a few measurements, and figure out how many more stands your mum and dad need to paint, basically.
Hopefully none. So if we get any more, will fit in the van.
But I think make sure you bring your stuff next year. I'd really like there to be a display of our stuff.
People have asked to see the Robert at MPO, good. So I will bring it along.
Good. I'm glad.
Not entering because I don't believe in that. Having your own contest and then entering it.
I don't know. Maybe we'll have to. I don't know. Maybe in a few years' time we can have a staff-only section or something. We'll see where we get to with it all. But we'll talk a lot about MPO over the next few weeks, guys. So Miniature Painting Open. Obviously, we've got the online one, and then say Bristol. I think there's about 20 tickets left for Bristol next year. So it may be that by the time we talk about that, they've gone anyway. But it's it's all very, very exciting. And
get your tickets.
But yeah, again, mate, thank you ever so much for coming on, having natter about it. So it's been lovely just to talk to you about stuff to do with it. And guys, if you've got any questions that you'd like us to answer, if you've got any artists or anything like that you'd like us to feature, or manufacturers you'd like us to feature and stuff, I don't think we're planning on doing our little small manufacturers episode this year. That we did for a few years.
Business.
But well, yes, 3D printing, isn't it? But yeah, we'll. It's been lovely to get back in the swing of things now with culture. So expect plenty of content coming out over the Christmas period, and then really going to get stuck into 2026 with the shows and the features and all the rest of it. As I say, later this week, Andy and I will be recording a Q&A and a sort of wish list for 2026 from you guys. So if you're Patreon, get on. I'll post up a thread there that you can pop those in. But if you're just a Twitch sub rather than a Patreon, I don't know, DM me on Instagram or something like that. And we can make sure we'll cover. I don't think there's a DM thing on Twitch, is there? I don't think there is.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah,
I think it's all just
do
video.
it on Instagram. But yeah, speaking of Twitch, thanks ever so much, guys, in the chat, guys and girls in the chat, for keeping all the questions and the comments coming in. It's really good fun. And I think we're proper finding our feet with this, so we'll be going great guns in 2026. So anything else you wanted to talk about, bud?
No, I'm just, when I put a post up in a few weeks' time for testers to come test the brand new fancy entry system, just come and do it.
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
it's so much better.
Mate, it's getting better and better all the time. It's I'm thoroughly enjoying using it. So yeah, I can't wait to see what you've got in store for that as well. As mentioned, the video that Matt did will be linked down there, but also there will be the Miniatures Compendium Network, which is Matt's project to do with recording things like Golden Demon archives and all the other painting competitions that are going on, events. Matt does an awful lot of work around that, guys. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, go and check it out and support it if you can. So thanks ever so much for watching, everyone. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.